in the breeze. Hubert Dupont for AG Tawar Le Mondial tucked in at the moment and staying as safe as possible. Winner Anacona. They're about to make the left turn at the bank and head up this 10-kilometre ascent. Immediately the road rises and the riders know that they're on a hell of a climb. This is going to be a tough one. Suiza on the front starts to pull a few faces as if to say, just trying to feel his legs. But Wellens is full of fight, isn't he?
Yeah, he wants to set a tempo right from the start, and he doesn't want to hang around. The gap coming down under 1 minute for the first time, so I think he'll get a little bit of a shock the further he gets up this climb, because there are some really steep pitches.
Yeah, 8% is the average that's been calculated by the organisers. They're saying 11.2% max. I can tell you it's all of that. With about, it just seems to ease a little bit with sort of 3 kilometres, 2 kilometres to go, and then just has this nasty little ramp with about 1 kilometre remaining. Just when you think you've got the tough stuff done, just has a little ramp up once more into a hairpin, and then eases ever so slightly coming to the line. But it climbs all the way. There's no plateau. There's no opportunity for a big ring sprint. This is an honest climbers national tour presentation, and now inside a minute is the advantage of the riders up front, and they're illustrating that Peter Sagan is safely in there, because that says yellow jersey group, 51 seconds in arrears. For how long will he manage to hang on? Sutsuf has done his work. Berhane is the big hope now for Dimension Data as he goes to the front of the group. Anacona sitting in his wheel, and Peter Sagan's pulled the plug. Time to get the jacket off for the climb. He'll stuff it in his back pocket. 5 Team Sky riders on the front, riding in the service of Geraint Thomas. Safely nestling in there and taking command. Geraint Thomas missed out on this race by just 5 seconds 12 months ago in that final time trial, when so many were favouring that he would be able to prevail. And now they've managed to get back up to Tim Wellens, and Wellens, that punchy style, that fast cadence, very effective at the moment. Clearly he has got good legs today, and he believes he can hang on. He's extended his advantage just as the main field have hit the lower slopes of this climb.
Yeah, he's certainly boiled. He's taken 2 sprints. He's taken 6 seconds back already, puts him 14 seconds off the overall lead. But there's so many riders we're not really talked about in this peloton waiting to pounce in this final climb. But Wellens is definitely going for it. He's that type of rider that never say die. He's an attacking type of rider, and he wants to ride a hard tempo on this climb. You can see a couple of riders have been distance Polans for Lampre and Suiza. Suiza will just, he's a bit of a diesel. He'll possibly come back later on the climb. But Wellens, Anacona winner Anacona, second place for Movistar, the Eritrean champion Atnel Berhane, Dupont and Atapuma just at the back.
Wellens not interested in getting any help, or at least not concerned that he's not. I don't think. He's just going to set the tempo that suits him, and everyone else is happy to sit in. Looks like Hubert Dupont isn't much enjoying it at the moment. Maybe that's just the way his style is. I can tell you about 3 hairpins from the top. His fan club are there. Pierre-Roger Latour also has some representation and some support, as Jan Polats. 10k to go for those riders. It's going to be a long 10k, maybe over half an hour. And now Wellens moves over to the right-hand side of the road as Berhane goes for one, has a little look, sees that Wellens isn't interested in this one, and Berhane, the Eritrean champion, has decided to charge on and perhaps bid for glory this afternoon on the hill to Kari.
It's a brave move by the Eritrean champion, Atnel Berhane, 25-year-old. Wellens reacts to it. He's full of riding today, comes by him straight away, wants to push on. Atapuma there, good legs coming out of the Giro d'Italia. Winner Anacona from Movistar up to it as well. So again, they're not settled down into the rhythm, and it's Chris Juul-Jensen of Orica Green Edge putting in an attack from the peloton.
So Orica Green Edge had representatives in the early breakaway group, and it's the Dane Chris Juul-Jensen. grew up in Ireland. And all the fans of Sorrento Cycling Club will be watching as he has a little look over his shoulder to see if there's been any reaction from the bunch behind. Team Sky not interested in that, so Chris Juul-Jensen is going to settle into the rhythm of pain. That will, he hopes, take him up to the group ahead, currently being led by 2 Colombians and a Belgian. Tim Wellens, Darwin Atapuma, and winner Anacona as Chris Juul-Jensen puts the power into the bike. Really enjoyed his time now with Orica Green Edge. And now Berhane back into the group of 4 it is. Up front, DuPont distanced. The Frenchman from AG Tour La Mondiale. Finding the pace well, at 35 years of age, not really to his liking. Berhane now on the front. Wellens tries a little one. Winner Anacona alive to the danger. Atapuma immediately into the wheel of his fellow countryman, but still a couple of bike lengths, and Wellens looks good at the moment. And their advantage now has stretched over a minute, so all this early activity on the climb, just over 9 kilometers remaining, has actually been to their advantage.
Yeah, I just think they're not settling down enough. The peloton are just riding a steady tempo, and that's why we're seeing Chris Juul-Jensen go on the attack. These seem to be increasing the tempo, you know, sitting back down, increasing. I think it's going to come up and bite them later on in this this climb, because it does get very difficult all the way towards the top.
Yeah, it's stop-start stuff in the breakaway group up front, being a lone chaser now in the shape of Chris Juul-Jensen. Still one or two riders from that breakaway group that have yet to be mopped up by the bunch behind. Hubert DuPont is one we saw a few minutes ago. Jan Polans as well is alone in his pain and suffering. As Berhane now had very briefly a little bit of an advantage. Winner Anacona now tries to put the hurt on the rest of his breakaway companions. As you say, there's no cohesion there. There is quite an aerodynamic benefit. It's difficult for amateurs to imagine it sometimes, but for professionals, the speed they go up these hills, it is certainly the rider on the front is breaking the wind for those behind.
Yeah, lesser extent than there is, you know, in the flats or certainly downhill. But it is stop-start stuff, and now winner Anacona and Nathaniel Berhane are starting to distance Wellens and Atapuma. You want to come onto a climb like this and get into your rhythm, and you know, just look at Team Sky. They're controlling things. The riders are accelerating on this climb, but the accelerations they've already made on this climb, I think it's going to hurt them the further they get to the top, because you know, Leopold Koenig is just setting a steady tempo. You know, this is down to suit Geraint Thomas sitting 5th in line. So you've got Koenig just sitting nice and easy, as we see Sylvain Dillier, the best Swiss rider at the start of today's stage, wearing that jersey underneath these waterproof. But it looks as if he'll be losing that jersey today.
Yeah, he loves the limelight, loves the chat, and he's explaining this is a steep hill, not that interested really, and he's happy enough to watch them disappear into the distance of this leaders group. It's Jonas Aguirre, the best placed of those that are pre-race favourites, at 19 seconds, and in the top 10 as well, Geraint Thomas just a further 6 seconds in arrear, so 25 seconds back. So Geraint Thomas is already, you might say, almost in pole position. So it's not quite a defensive position for Team Sky, but they don't really need to set an horrific tempo at the bottom of the climb. It's all going to happen a little bit later up. Chris Juul-Jensen didn't work out for him. Brave effort for the Orica Green Edge man, and he's back in the fold. Koenig still on the front, pairs the gap ever so slightly, now down to 1 minute and 17 seconds as things settle down a little bit at the front amongst those breakaway companions. What am I saying? That's not exactly settled, is it?
They're killing each other on this climb. You know, they're attacking each other, they're accelerating, and it's hurting them. This is a long climb. There's still, you know, just over 8 kilometers to go. Okay, we get a bit of respite with about 3 or 4 kilometers to go. In fact, it goes downhill ever so slightly, but this is a difficult finish, and they're really attacking this climb, and they're going to pay for it later on.
Well, Berhane and Anacona have the advantage, but Wellens and Atapuma haven't given up yet, and they're setting a more settled tempo. They're just settling into the rhythm of trying to close down the gap, whereas Berhane and Anacona are going at it hammer and tongs. This is a massive scrap, and Berhane's not going to give it up yet. Wellens watches them as they perform another disappear into the distance dance, and immediately they slow as Anacona tries to see, has he managed to detach himself from his Eritrean rival, but he certainly hasn't. Berhane fancies this one. Another hairpin, another vicious ramp, well over 10%, and look at the way they weave around the road ahead. Partly that's because of the tactical considerations. I tell you what, for most on planet Earth, that's just the only way you can get up the hill, is to weave around. 1 minute 16 seconds now, holding steady at the moment to the main group behind us. Berhane takes it up on the front again. How long before Anacona is going to have another crack? We're on the climb to Kari, and we're inside the final 8 kilometers. Climbing to the ski station, that is Kari. 2 ski lifts and 2 chair lifts, they tell me. And 20 kilometers of snow piste. Bakoch safely in there at the moment for Eric's quick step, and it's Team Sky on the front controlling affairs. Sitsov of the Dimension Data squad has done his major work for the day.
Just looking at some of the riders I noticed in this main group behind as they come up to and pass Suiza. Kelderman is in there for Lotto NL Jumbo. You can see Rui Costa also in there, the Portuguese champion. Scarponi is there, TJ Van Garderen. Jon Izagiri is there, Simon Spilak, Matthias Frank for IAM, and Cannondale's Talansky.
Talansky in green, just sitting in nice position, about 10th. Geraint Thomas at the back of this impressive group of Team Sky riders. What a great job they're doing. 3 times champion Rui Costa in the Portuguese national champions colours there, in the predominantly white colours, number 71 just at the top of the shot. 3 times in succession, and then went on to finish 3rd in the Dauphiné 12 months ago. He very much likes this race. He likes this time of year. And Rui Costa, former world road race champion, is not a man to be ruled out of contention just yet, still very much in contention. CCC Sprani Polkowice, as I said earlier, might fancy stage win. The riders have slipped a little bit out of contention, but one of 4 invited squads. Sylvester Schmidt, Samuel Au, perhaps Jan Hurt or Victor Delapart to the 4 in the Tour of Austria 12 months ago. 3rd and 1st respectively for those 2 riders might be ideal, and might be ones that are going to do well. Leopold Koenig, his work is done. Very impressive work it was too. So now we have 4 up front, as a bit of a ceasefire has been called between Berhane and Anacona. Berhane likes to go to the front, he's happy to set the tempo, and Atapuma and Wellens have managed to get back on. Anacona for Team Movistar in the dark colours now on the front. His fellow countryman, the Colombian Atapuma from BMC, a slightly busier style, shorter of stature, but no less effective up a hill, and he now sets the tempo. Berhane will pick it up. Wellens is just hanging on, you feel, at this stage?
Yeah, this is a hard hill. He's just thinking of trying to stay away, and if he crosses the line ahead of the group behind, then he'll take that yellow jersey. So just look as if the front group of 4 riders, Wellens, Anacona, Atapuma and Berhane, have settled themselves down because they were hurting each other in the initial slopes of this climb, but it's not that type of climb. It'll come back and bite them, and it's thankful, I think, to all of them that they've settled down to try and help each other, as we see Frank Schleck starting to be distanced from the main group.
One of 4 former winners of the Tour de Suisse in this race this year. Frank Schleck not able to relive old glories. He's starting to go backwards on the climb, so Trek Segafredo not really bringing big GC strength to this race this year. They've got a stage win, courtesy of Fabian Cancellara. Hasn't been a bad week so far for them. Now the attacks come from behind, and it is the man from BMC, Darwin Atapuma. Tries his luck off the front. Once more, it's Berhane who reacts. He's the first to react. He's the only one who can react. And Anacona, after all those efforts to try and get clear of Berhane, finds himself distanced. Tim Wellens, though, still fighting, still setting a tempo that he is, well, I won't say comfortable with, but he believes he can sustain through to the top of the climb. And now, Atapuma's timed that one nicely. Big explosion for Anacona. Looks like it's all gone.
I think I spoke too soon. I thought they were wanting to settle down and kind of help each other, but it doesn't seem that way. And you know, one attack by the BMC rider Atapuma has meant that these 4 riders in front are all separated by a matter of meters now.
I had a little look behind, realised it was only Berhane that was in a position to follow. Goes again. Berhane nods his head as if to say there's nothing I can do about that. Tim Wellens, what a rearguard performance from the Belgian rider. He's not able to react to these attacks. He's setting his own tempo, and it's a wise move, you feel, and it's working well in as much as he's able to drag his way back. Looks like he's going to get back up to Berhane. Not quite there yet, a little bit of work to do yet, but he's continuing to fight hard and fight all the way to the line. Tim Wellens, brave effort indeed. Still 6 kilometers to go as he watches Atapuma go through that left-hand hairpin. Berhane, you feel, after all that early effort, is really paying for those attacks. So some very sensible riding from Atapuma on the lower slopes of this hill, not reacting to those early attacks, but still clearly full of fight.
He's come out the Giro d'Italia with some good legs, so you know he's used them to good effect now. He's 1 minute in front of about just over 20 riders, led by Team Sky. So 3 riders from Team Sky at the front of the peloton. A lot of riders starting to be in difficulty at the back of that peloton. We know that Rui Costa is still there for Lamprecht, Kelderman for Lotto NL Jumbo, Scarpone is there for Astana. TJ Van Garderen is there. 2 riders from Movistar, that's the brothers Jon and Gorka Ezagiri. Simon Spilak is there for Katusha, Matthias Frank for Ayam, Talansky of Cannondale, and Bargui of Giant Alpecin.
He got the tights on today, clearly a little bit concerned about the weather, but Kirienka still setting a tempo, still his jaw set, refusing to show any emotion on his face. That's not the way that he plays. It sits high on the bars, but what an effective style it is. And Kirienka sets it to that wonderfully uncomfortable rhythm. As Geraint Thomas, sitting third of those Team Sky riders, looks in good shape at the moment. Look at this though, for an attack by John Darwin Atapuma of the BMC Racing Team. 9th overall in the Giro d'Italia. Top 10 finish on GC in a Grand Tour means he is definitely a contender for success this afternoon. And Atapuma, 3 minutes and 58 seconds down going into this stage. He's not really a threat on overall classification. He's likely to leap up though after today's effort. The 2 riders chasing Wellens has finally caught up with Berhane. And Berhane, his legs feeling a little hollow, I think, at this moment.
Yeah, Tim Wellens has ridden this climb well. He's not getting involved with the attacks. He did start into this climb with a good tempo, and he wanted to keep that tempo, but unfortunately he's come up against a man on form straight out the Giro d'Italia with some good form, and you know, he's not even looking back, and the gap growing all the time. Now 19 seconds back to Wellens and Berhane.
Finished third in the mountains classification in Giro d'Italia and had 3rd and 4th place finishes, and a 2nd place finish as well in the penultimate stage of Giro d'Italia. So for Atapuma, as you say, a man of considerable pedigree. Berhane too, the big win is coming for him. Doesn't look like it's going to be today. Wellens distances the Eritrean rider and settles into that grimace. Looks like a smile sometimes, I can tell you it's far from it. He's really feeling it. He's 20 seconds down. He's losing a second every few seconds. Diddy the Devil. Forza Diablo has been the cry on the hill today for Didi Senf. Makes his appearance in the big national tour that is Tour de Suisse 2016, the 80th edition of this event. Now just under a minute, the advantage for the race leader. 20 seconds he's got. Just under a minute, I should say, to the group of main favourites. The way he's going, I think he's got a decent chance of hanging on to it. Get a sense, though, that hasn't quite kicked off behind. There's still a lot of racing to be done in those last 5K.
No, there's a lot of racing to be done now. 3 riders still: Sky, Kirienka, Boswell, and Geraint Thomas. Rui Costa, then the duo from Astana, that's Lopez and Scarponi. And you know, we've already mentioned a lot of the other riders that are still in contention. But you know, that rider there in the white of Lampre, the Portuguese champion, won this race 3 times. Then we got Pantano and Frank, Kelderman, Bargui, Spelak is there, and Jon Izagiri, TJ Van Garderen moving up, Talansky's in there. So a lot of the riders that you know, we're expecting to be there are definitely there. Just hanging in the back is Tourlum, is Seelig of the Active Jet.
Yeah, the Verve Active Jet Pro Cycling team, great news for them. One of the wildcard invitations, and they'll be absolutely delighted that they've got Pavel Chislik into this group. But one wonders for how much longer, because he's suffering a little bit on the back. That's not the place to be. They tend to disappear in 1s and 2s. 5K remaining for the group of favourites. 300 metres further up the road, and that's almost a minute. That just shows you what a tough hill this is. He's extended his advantage over Tim Wellens, has Darwin Atapuma, and the advantage being maintained to the main group of favourites. The tempo being set by Vasil Kirienka. And there's the reigning champion of Tour of Switzerland, the Slovenian Simon Spilak. Always goes well in Switzerland, always goes well at this time of year. And riders desperate to try and frantically make their... That's Pierre-Roger Latour, we mentioned him a little bit earlier. Man who many people have great hopes for. Best placed rider from AG Tour Le Mondial going into this stage, less than half a minute back. And that's Hubert Dupont, his compatriot, his teammate. And Dupont has been distanced by the lead group and is about to be picked up by the group of favourites. Still being set, still being dragged up this hill by Kirienka. Boswell with that busy style, doing well. He was in the early break, remember, but he's still very much in the service of Geraint Thomas. Rui Costa is sitting 4th overall. He's unzipped his Portuguese National Road Race Champions jersey just to get a little bit of ventilation in. They're starting to feel the heat on the climb to Carry. Atapuma alone, racing solo to victory. Could it possibly be? Still a long way to go. 4.2 kilometers. Very shortly the gradient is going to ease a little bit. That's all there is. That's almost a minute, believe it or not. And there's Tim Wellens. Super job being done. Best place of all the riders in the breakaway group today. And well, it's looking increasingly unlikely that he's going to be able to hang on to that advantage and increase his advantage. But still, he could well be in the general classification hunt if he can fight his way to the line ahead of some of those riders that are likely to be distanced as the group of favourites starts to really stretch its legs in moments to come. No rain on the finishing hill. That's great news. The rain has disappeared of late, so they've missed most of the showers today. Just a few drenchings at the top of that second of 3 climbs of the day. So Giant Alpecin have decided to go to the front and set the tempo. Yeah, Warren Barguil has decided that Kirienka's time was over, so Warren Barguil, the young Frenchman, comes to the front. Pantano follows him for Ayam, the Colombian, and Boswell up to helping Geraint Thomas, just to name a few other riders in the yellow. You've got Kelderman, TJ Van Garderen for Ayam, Matthias Frank towards the back of this group, trying to hang on there at the back is Polans, who's in the original breakaway. Berhane's been caught, and I think will struggle for the rest of the climb. He put in so many efforts. We're on this slight descent now. Shake of the head by Warren Barguil. It wasn't enough, but I tell you what, if
Atapuma keeps this tempo up, he's in with a chance of a stage win now, because it looks as if the main contenders aren't willing to you know, fight it out between themselves. And now that we've got depleted numbers in this front group, I think everybody's waiting. I think everybody realises that this last kilometre is very difficult. They don't want to lose any seconds. Looks like Ian Boswell is now trying to control things for Team Sky at the front now.
Yeah, the gradient more to Boswell's thinking, liking at the moment. Pavel Cislek from Verva Active Jet gets a brief reprieve and gets back in onto the back of this group. No one will be dropped for the next few hundred metres as it just starts to ramp up just before the 3 kilometres to go for the main field. 50 seconds ahead, still hanging on to that advantage, clinging on for dear life. What a great job being done by Tim Wellens as well. He's still indicated at just the arrears of 20 seconds, and that 20 seconds gap went out really quickly, and now it started to stabilise a little bit between himself and Darwin Atapuma up front, and indeed the gap between himself and the riders behind. Just lost a second there, another second, now the attack starting to come.
Yeah, Pantano now goes for Ayam, and it was just a glance over to Warren Barkley. He just lost the wheel and decided he wants to go on the attack. Now Rui Costa gets involved, the Portuguese champion in second place. Lopez is in there. It's down to pretty much individual riders, so Geraint Thomas is now on his own. Kirienka and Boswell are being distanced, but you know, just looking at the whittled down field, it's man against man, but still 47 seconds ahead is Atapuma, trying his hardest, and it could possibly be enough to try and take the stage win, but I think some of these riders now are starting to feel that they can try and maybe take this stage, take the 10 seconds at the end, and you know, vault up the overall.
Hollands is gone, man from the early break. Cislek as well, it was a brief reprieve, and as you say, Matthias Frank, who might have hoped for greater things, is a fine climber, but he's really suffering out there at the moment. The man from IAM, the Swiss-based squad. As Rui Costa goes to the front, 3 times a winner of this race. He absolutely loves it in Switzerland. Has a little look over his shoulder and finds that he's thinned out the group to just 3. TJ Van Garderen is in there. Geraint Thomas has made it and looks very comfortable indeed. A man looking very uncomfortable is Tim Wellens, who's about to be caught by the Geraint Thomas-led group of favourites. A little bit of a cessation in hostilities means that 4 riders are going to be able to make their way back in, including Bargui and Andrew Talansky. Lopez it is. Could this be Lopez? Well, it's one of the Astana riders that's decided to try his luck off the front. Immediately goes past Tim Wellens as if he wasn't there. And charging up the hill, Miguel Lopez. What a fantastic performance from him in the Tour de Suisse 12 months ago. Just 50 seconds back on general classification, but does know that he needs to find a way to put a little bit of time into these group of favourites. Kelderman has decided to go to the front, and Geraint Thomas is well in contention.
Well, that's why they've been riding all day. They've been riding for this moment. You just see Atapuma, the only rider in the right-hand side on the climb. He's 31 seconds in front, but Lopez is starting to attack. Everybody's waited to the last couple of kilometres here because they know it's very difficult. 34 seconds is not a big advantage in a very difficult finish like this. But Lopez is attacking. Kelderman has been up for it. Rui Costa's in there. Geraint is just sitting patiently because, as we said, this does kick up in the last kilometre, and if you've got anything left, you can pull back 20 seconds on that last kilometre easy.
Well, Atapuma is just looking at the road ahead. He's not even thinking about it. Van Garderen goes on the left-hand side of the road. Kelderman just has a little look across and tries to take the wheel of the BMC man. Rui Costa is feeling the strain a little bit. Geraint Thomas doesn't want to commit yet. How are his legs as Van Garderen puts a couple of bike lengths between himself and the Portuguese former world road race champion.
It's kind of a surprise that TJ Van Garderen has decided to go for it. Obviously, he's got thinking of the overall, but he's got Atapuma in front. While he's riding and dragging the other contenders up, it's eating into the advantage of his teammate Atapuma, who could possibly still take this stage.
Matthias Frank is feeling the gradient in a big way. So too is Tim Wellens, who's been caught but managing to hang on to the wheel of riders in front of him. Ozigir is not enjoying this too much at the moment as the group of favourites, what are they doing up front? Let's have a look at what's happening. The crowd is large, and it's appreciative of what has been a very impressive effort all day from Darwin Atapuma into the final 1600 meters with just a 20-second advantage, and surely it's not going to be enough because it is an absolutely vicious start to the final kilometre.
Yeah, it does look as if the reaction from TJ Van Garderen really eating into the advantage of this man here, his teammate Atapuma. Geraint Thomas is equal to it, the former world champion and 3 times winner of this race. In the 4th place there, the Portuguese champion. Rui Costa's there, Kelderman's there. Lopez is starting to be distance. I think, you know, for TJ Van Garderen, he doesn't want to be propped on the front here. He's got a teammate in front. He's coming up to take the King of the Mountains, but I tell you what, Declan, it just eases up slightly, and when we get inside the last kilometre, it really kicks up all the way towards the line. 17 seconds. I'm not too sure this is enough because we're going to see another reaction from the 4 riders just behind.
Some nice points gained by Atapuma. I don't think he's thinking about that right now. He can see the kite ahead. He knows there's just a kilometre to go. A little bit of a reset amongst the group of favourites. Van Garderen goes again. Kelderman feels that he's got to cover it. It's Geraint Thomas that's first to react as Warren Barguil. Lopez has managed to get back into contention. Another one of the Astana riders is there. That could be Janetsky from Katusha that is trying to get back
has
on.
Been distanced by Katusha now. So last year's winner, number 1, has been distanced. 1 kilometre to go for Atapuma. And it does rear up as soon as we get round these next couple of corners, and it goes all the way towards the line. So we've already seen on this climb that Geraint Thomas, Kelderman, TJ Van Garderen and Rui Costa are feeling good, but I think they're saving it for the last kilometre because of the distance. But it's Warren Barguil into the last kilometre for Giant Alpecin with no real reaction from TJ Van Garderen.
That's a brave effort from Warren Barguil because he was distanced when the attacks came from TJ Van Garderen, and then found himself in a situation where he was able to get back into the group, and instead of just settling down and trying to recover, he decided to go on the attack, see if he could make enough of a distance to him and the group behind to chase on for glory. Atapuma a little bit further ahead. Well, it's BMC have interest in the front group and in the group behind because Atapuma is racing on for the Swiss-sponsored squad. They're always fired up. And look at the way Barguil is really hurting his way to the top of this hill. The French star, big favourite, a man who's an emerging talent on the world stage. And for Giant Alpecin, he is doing a fantastic job at the moment. Kelderman in the yellow of Lotto Jumbo has a little look around. Where's the next reaction going to come from? Atapuma is now in the closing stages, well inside the final kilometre, well inside, I believe, the final 500 metres at this point.
No, it's just coming up to 500 metres to go now. This is a really kind of steep ramp, and Warren Barguil's got him in the distance, and I tell you what, it's still hard enough for Warren Barguil to bring it back. All across the road for the contenders behind, I don't think there'll be much time lost by any of them. Just look at Spilak has managed to get it back, so it does look as if the stage 1 could be within the grasp of Atapuma. Depends on how much Warren Barguil's got left in the legs. 500 metres to go.
Well, he hits the 500 metres to go, and it's going to be an absolute lifetime. He just picked out Warren Barguil in the distance behind. He's within maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds at most of Atapuma. Atapuma still looks like he's full of fight, full of fire. He hits 400 to go. Barguil is chasing, not too far behind. You feel there's another reaction going to come behind because that's too big a group. Talansky, we noted, has managed to make his way back in, but for how much longer? As I think that's Izagir is starting to suffer once more.
A huge effort now by AG2R. Latour is going for a TJ Van Garden's coming there. Lopez, 400 metres to go. Geraint is up to it. This is going to be close now between the GC contenders, but Atapuma looks as if he's got it in the bag now.
Well, he's been out there all day. What an amazing performance from the Colombian. Darwin Atapuma for the BMC squad. Can he survive through to the finish? There's still more attacks to come. Barguil hasn't given up the fight yet, but he's inside the final 200 metres. The gradient eases ever so slightly, but still Atapuma knows that he's got to sprint it all the way to the line. Stage 5 of the Tour de Suisse is going to go to the Colombian. He's inside the final 50 metres. He has to stay out of the saddle all the way to the line. It's an absolutely vicious ascent. It's been equalled by Darwin Atapuma of the BMC team. He takes the victory and just about enough energy to punch the air into life. Warren Barguil, what a wonderful performance. Second for Giant Alpecin. It's a French third place finish too for Pierre Roger Latour. TJ Van Garderen and Wilco Kelderman look to see if they've gained much. Geraint Thomas and Andrew Talansky, well, they've stayed close and stayed attentive. But no doubt about the man who has survived from the early breakaway group to take a famous victory in the Tour de Suisse. What an amazing performance by Darwin Atapuma of Team BMC. Well, Spirac, the reigning champion, is across the line. He's lost a bit of time, and that'll be of concern to him. The rest of the GC